Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in. I am Christine, Crafty Southern Home. If you're new here, appreciate you stopping by. Please consider to subscribe, and if you've been here before, I thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. First project is going to be a simple little frame, and it's something that I had on hand, so it cost me zero. But I am going to take, I cut out a piece of cardboard to fit this little oval frame. And then I took I was going to take the little paper that comes with it, but it was too glossy, and paint it with my chalk paint. And this is a blue color. But like I said, it was too glossy, so I ended up actually cutting a piece of sketchbook paper out that was thick enough. And then, so I'm going to paint that. And then I am going to also paint my frame, and that is going to be in the color, I believe I did buttercream with that. But I'm going to paint it just one coat, and I did take and distress it because I wanted some of that gold from that frame to pop through. And then I'm going to take some stamps. Now, I ordered these off of Amazon, so they're not your higher quality stamps. And actually, some of them were not even raised enough, and I did use my sandpaper to scrape them down to get the glossy off, but they weren't raised enough, so I actually just threw some of them away. So I ended up with the Happy Easter, and then there's another one with like a little picket fence. And I did those in a metallic gold, and I got that from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to stamp the ink on there and then press my stamps where I want them. Now, because they're that gold and my paper is that dark blue, they didn't really show up at first. You could see it. You can't really see it from the camera, but you can see it on. But I used a black thin Sharpie and just kind of outlined that. And this is just going to be something I put in my house just through the Easter season. But then after Easter, you could put whatever you wanted to in there. I'm definitely going to use some more stamps. I probably will not order from Amazon anymore just because I didn't have any good luck with it this time. But I'm going to be doing some more IOD stamps. Those are very good quality, so I'll be using some of those. But it's real cute. And once I did do the outlining on there, it turned out fine. So I hope you guys like this project. This was simple. project number 2. I found this little gem at Goodwill. And do you guys recognize that cartoon character? I feel like that's something kind of vintage, maybe from the 60s, 70s. I just didn't know what it was, but it was cute. So it's obviously hanging in some child's room. It says Top Dog is all it says over there to the sides. Anyhow, I am going to tear off all this paper. That took quite a bit of work. So between my little art knife here and a sanding pad, I did remove all of it, sanded it down real good, and then I used my wipe to clean it up real good. I removed that thing from the top. I originally was going to leave that, but then once it came out when I was going to tape it off. But then I decided that I'm going to use a mold around the edge of this, so I ended up just leaving it out anyhow. But I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in the color Moss. This is a beautiful green. And then I am going to use a mold that's meant for fondant icing for cakes. And I've used this mold before for one of my Valentine's videos. I used the rose off of it. And this time I'm going to use like the little half bead pearl looking run of it. And I don't remember how many of them I had to do, but I did enough to go around the whole way. So I'm going to take some cornstarch, lay that, kind of dust that in the mold just to keep my air dry clay from sticking. And I just get my clay right now. I get it from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to use that in my mold, the cornstarch. And then I'm going to roll out my air dry clay, I kind of rolled it out kind of like a snake. Some of my clay was kind of drying. This is an old pack. But then I'm going to use my fingers to push it down into the mold. A lot of people use a credit card, but I use my art knife just to scrape off the top. And then just make sure you push it down in there good. Flip it over, kind of use gravity for that mold to pop out. And then I figured out where I'm going to put it around the edge. And I'm going to use the Tight Bond Quick and Thick on the back. Put that around the edge. And then it met up pretty good. You can always cut it. Some of it you'll see me putting it here and a piece of it fell off, but that's fine. It butts up against each other. And actually, by the time I had turned it on its top and the edges to go all the way around, I had squished some up top. So I used my art knife to cut it. And then I had some left over, so I just used a run of the beads and glued that in place. I painted around the edge first, then I'm going to come back and paint the clay while it's wet. And I've heard people say to do that so it prevents a lot of your cracking. I did find that it did crack some, and that maybe because my air dry clay is a little older, I have a new pack. Maybe I just need to try the new pack. But in the end, it works fine. Let that dry real well after you paint it. And then I am going to come back with some Roycycled decoupage paper. It's beautiful and it's called Spring Blocks. And I'm going to pick out a bird. I kind of had a bird theme going on here. Didn't mean it. Just kind of ended up that way. But I'm going to use this beautiful bird. Now, normally I would use white chalk paint underneath my decoupage paper, but I wanted to try to see what it would look like. Since this piece was kind of vintage looking to begin with, I thought I would try and see what it would look like just to leave it as is. And all it does really is your paper just doesn't pop as much. It's not as, trying to think what I want to say here, crystal. It just doesn't pop. It just dulls it down a little bit. But I thought that would be fine because I wanted it to not take away from the mold around the edge. So, but you decide if you want to keep using the white chalk paint underneath. And I'm going to do 2 more projects with some decoupage and rice papers. And I am going to do the white underneath. But this one I decided not to. So I'm going to use my brayer in my hands and the paintbrush itself when I'm doing my liquid patina to get that paper laid down good. So I kind of cut it to size to begin with. I didn't want a whole big sheet to lay over this because I knew I couldn't cut it exactly right now. and I wanted to come back with my finger sander and sand around the edges, but I needed to be careful because I did take off some of the paint off of the beads, but that was fine because I just, after I sanded, I just came back with a small art brush and touched up that paint. And I needed to anyhow because in between some of the cracks it's kind of hard with a bigger brush to get in there, so I just used a smaller brush to do that. I apologize for some of the lighting on my video. I'm not sure what happened. I think I may have accidentally switched my lighting on my ring light to something other else, but hang in there with me. I promise you it gets better, but the lighting right now is a little off. But I did come back to add a little bit more dimension because I didn't want to waste that beautiful beading around the edge from that mold. So I came first with my Best Dang wax from Dixie Belle in white and went all over my piece. And then I came back with the Best Dang wax in brown. That way, using the white wax first allows you to have more control over how much and exactly where you want the darker wax to go. So you're going to brush on your white first and then take a cloth. I just use a paper towel. You can use a shop towel, what have you, microfiber cloth, and then wipe away the excess and then come in with your dark and a little more defined, lay that where you want. And like I said, I mainly wanted it to get into the crevices of that beading. But I also wanted some on top as well because, like I said, I wanted this piece to look a little more vintage. I didn't want it to have a new look to it. So just remember, though, if you want to have more control of your darker waxes, to put a white down first and then wipe that back, and then that gives you more control with that. But I hope you enjoy this piece. I love it, and it will stay in my own home. Okay, our next project, I found this box at Goodwill and paid $1.99 for it. And when I go to paint it, you can see it kind of fell apart, which is fine because I just secure it later on with some wood glue and some hot glue, just a combination. So I just left it apart while I painted the inside. I'm painting the inside with this nice nautical blue from Folk Art. And then I'm going to paint 2 coats of that. And then I had to sand it. It was a card box, like for note cards, so I thought it was cute. I left the bottom, since it said little note cards, I left that on the bottom. But the top, of course, I'm taking that off. It did have like a crackle finish to it, and when I got through painting, I did the outside 2 coats of driftwood. You can still kind of see that crackle effect to it, and I like that. So I didn't cover it completely to cover all of that up. I just mainly wanted to get the driftwood gray on there. Then I'm going to use, this is my first time using the IOD transfers, and I bought the Whispering Willow. Y'all, I love this. Oh gosh, I'm going to be buying a lot more of these IOD transfers, I can tell. So I picked out this bird. See, I told you it kind of ended up being bird themed, even though I didn't really mean for it to be bird themed. I guess spring, I just think of the birds coming out because they're coming out around my feeders now, so I guess that's why I kind of got hooked on the bird theme. But anyhow, I picked out this gorgeous little, I'm going to say this is an Oriole, but if that's not correct, y'all let me know. And then I'm going to put him down with my little transfer tool. So you just work your little tool to lay the transfer. I kind of work from one corner to the next. Just start peeling that top vellum part off carefully. Now the IOD transfers do have this grid to them as well, so that helps you line up where you want to put your transfer, and I love that. That helps a lot. So just easily pull it back. If something didn't take, you can put it back down and use your transfer tool to get that up. And as always, when you get your transfer completely up, you do want to seal it. Now, when I got through, I wasn't quite finished. The box was beautiful as is, but I am going to take some, they call them nail head studs with brads. I got these on clearance at Hobby Lobby. Had no idea what I might use them for, but I thought with this project it would be perfect. This kind of reminds me of a cigar box. Maybe that's kind of, I was getting masculine vibes or something other from it. So what I did was I just hammered those because it's got the little brad parts to it. So it's got little feet to it, little claws. And you just hammer those in. So I did one on each side and then one in the middle of each of the sides. Those were 74 cents, that pack. And I picked up 2 of those because, like I said, I was like, this is a good buy. I'm going to use this for something other. So here we go. Then when I got through with that, I had to, some of it kind of, it didn't split the wood, but it kind of took that paint off. So I had to touch it up. The paint didn't match because it dried at different times. So then I decided to use my Best Dang wax in brown. I did all around those nail head studs. And then I also said, well, I kind of like that on the bird as well. So you can see I'm going to add that everywhere and then even on the bottom. And then this project is finished, and this is so cute, y'all. Let me know what you think about this one. Okay, this is going to be an easy one. I have lots of these little vases still left over. Bases. Did I say vases? Bases left over from Hobby Lobby. I've used these for making candlesticks before and some other things. So then I've got some half wood rounds. So I found out that these lined up 6 they go perfect across the sides. So I did 6 on each side there. Now I did not sand beforehand, and I should have. So sand beforehand if you try this project. But I'm going to lay these down with a combination of wood glue and hot glue just to make sure that the wood glue gives it that permanent hold, because I want it to stay there. Then I am going to use, I painted it in white chalk paint, so I'm going to use my white Adirondack. That's what I'm using, chalk paint for that. Let that dry. And I only did one good coat of this, and I did all around. Then I'm going to be using my Decoupage Central paper, this beautiful little duckling here. And you can see I have several more prints on here to use. Isn't that bunny rabbit so cute? Anyhow, I'm going to get around to them eventually. I may not show those on my channel. I might just put some in my booth. But these would be adorable for picture frames, if I could find some nice picture frames to put these in. So I cut out the little duckling, and then I'm just going to take my measuring tape and measure, because I've got those wood beads there, so I don't have the luxury of letting it hang off and then using my sanding block to come back and sand it off. So it's got to fit. So I had to measure it. So I'm going to lay this down with a good coat of liquid patina, if I can get that open. And I'm not going to do the strips here because it's a smaller piece, so just coat the piece real good, lay it down, and then you want to coat the top of it as well. Then I'm going to seal it. And you can add a hanger to the back of this, and I may come back and do that, but right now I just have it propped up somewhere. So I told y'all this is quick and simple, but it looks like something that you kind of bought at a boutique store. And how beautiful did those half wood round beads change this base? It would be nice to do like a stack of these and maybe use a ribbon in between to hang them. You know, kind of like when you go to Dollar Tree, you see all those projects they have and they use the ribbon to go in between. I think that would be nice here too. Let me know what you think. Okay, and our last project here. So this was another find from a Goodwill store for 99¢, y'all, and it was originally a Hobby Lobby fall piece. So I'm going to remove the metal sign. I'm going to keep that in my stash though, because you never know when I might reuse that, but I'm going to remove that. Then I noticed that some of the paper was coming up from around the edges, so I am going to use a combination of my sanding block and my art knife to peel that up. And then I did find that using a Lysol wipe got the rest of it up, so that was perfect. So you can use a spray bottle with some water and get it up too. So I'm going to paint it all around with one coat of my white Adirondack chalk paint, and that is a folk art. Then I'm going to use this beautiful bird decoupage paper, and I got this also from Decoupage Central, and this is my first time ordering from them as well, and all the pieces I've gotten are beautiful. I haven't used them all yet, so you'll see them again. But look at these birds, how vibrant they are. So of course I had to use these. Again, going with the little bird theme here, so I'm going to use my liquid patina. You can use Mod Podge or whatever your medium is for your decoupage. Then I'm going to do this in strips because this is a larger piece, so I'm going to do my starter strip. I will use my brayer, a combination of my brayer, just my fingers and the brush, to lay this down and get the air bubbles out. Now, I went a little rough with the brayer, but here's a tip for you guys. Don't go too hard. Go easy, because some of the colors can come off of these papers, especially after you've laid them down into that decoupage medium there. So after I laid it down, I will use my sanding block and go around the edges in a downward motion, and that just clears off the edges beautifully. And I did hang a string on the back of this to hang it with, but I also found some ribbon in my stash and went around the edges, just hot gluing that around the edges, and that totally transformed this. Now, the twine that I used to hang it from, I am just going to kind of go by the placement that I could see the holes where I pulled out that other twine, and I'm going to use my hot glue and some staples to secure that in there. And this project is finished. And how gorgeous are those birds, y'all? This is so vibrant. And again, this is a piece that I'm just hanging in my dining room for right now. If you guys have stuck with me this long, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for watching. Send me thumbs up. Any comments, I appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider smashing that subscribe button. Until next time, you guys, and again, I apologize for some of the lighting on these, but until next time, I hope you have a blessed week. Thank you.